Hello, hello. I am Banana Zoo, and this will be my speedrunning tutorial for Gravity Circuit Any Percent. In particular, this tutorial will regard the stage commonly referred to as Arc 2. That is the longest stage in the game, in any given speedrun, and in casual play arguably as well as the most difficult, especially in speedrunning. In terms of pure movement, it is very technical and a very common reset point, especially in high-level play. This tutorial will assume that you have at least a basic understanding for movement in the game. So if you don't, if you're completely fresh to the speedrunning scene, I recommend you check out the channel EternalRedGamer. He has a tutorial uploaded for basic movements and examples of movement in the intro stage of the game. It is a very comprehensible tutorial and I highly recommend you check that out. But if you are already familiar with such things, welcome. And I will do my best to go over the stage, go over movement, various tricks, variants of those various tricks, and of course the boss itself, as it is very different from most bosses in the game. So to start things off, I will go over the loadouts, the movesets that I'm running in my any percent routes, but I will do my best to show variants that don't feature certain aspects that make my particular loadout unique, so to say. So starting things out, I have Air Jumper. It is the most expensive booster chip in the game, and it is very understandable that many speedrunners don't go out of their way during an any percent run to get 8 rescue tokens just to get this, and would rather invest that time in just going fast and buying other things. Patch block, standard speedrunning fare, grants super armor, and certain conveniences like the gooey blobs in Arc 2 not sticking to you and stopping your movement. And energy multiplier, generally not super relevant, but this is mostly for convenience sake. This has certain aspects in other parts of my personal route. Current arc, the mini boss killer of any percent, standard fare. It will also be relevant against the boss of Arc 2, Crystal Circuit. Rising Upper, also standard fare, as well as Gravity Dash and Function Overload. So the burst techniques are very standard for any percent. The only real unique aspect is Air Jumper. And then I have a second moveset that is essentially built around boss battles. Patch block, once again, the standard fare. Repair Enhancer synergizes with the paint job that I have on Kai, Draining Gray. Any of my physical burst techniques will heal 3 points of health instead of 2, which reduces the overall cost of bursts, and just generally also against the boss of Arc 2, this will be insanely relevant as it frequently drops health. And energy multiplier once again. Standard fare for my particular route, also relevant mostly against the boss. Same as the moves in question. What stands out here is Heavenly Pile Drive. This is a crucial move for making Crystal Circuit go by quickly. So regardless of what your loadouts are in any percent, if you're looking for a fast Crystal Circuit fight, you want Heavenly Pile Drive. And it's also quite good with Draining Gray and Repair Enhancer. If I'm going to drain my burst real quick, notice how much health I spend. I spend 4 health on Heavenly Pile Drive, but I also heal 4 back. So Repair Enhancer makes this essentially a free move to be spammed. The obvious caveat is that it forces invincibility frames. So without further ado, we will go ahead and get into the stage itself. I will first go over the stage itself, how to move through it. Again, if you are not familiar with basic movement in speedrunning Gravity Circuit, I point you to EternalRedGamer's channel and his tutorial, but otherwise, let's get this going. Things start off fairly standard. We will immediately establish a function overload to go fast. Right here, double jump over that, dive kick into the pit. We can double jump under these platforms, re-establish function overload. While function overload is active, you can also punch those junk boxes in case they get in the way. Now here's the first relevant part of this tutorial. Let me get rid of all the enemies. These platforms, these are running on a global cycle of sorts. They basically start moving as soon as you drop into the room, and how you have to move through them depends on at what point in their cycle you arrive here. So, going over the general position of these are the three platforms, and that was kind of the casual way of going through them. So one thing about my loadout, and this is how I would generally move through these, with Air Jumper, I have a glitch-like property during function overload, where dive kick jump cancels are indefinite, so I can just jump through for free. But obviously, again, whoops, this is not something that everyone does. So we will go through some basic versions of this. If, say, you arrive here, you can wall cling on the other side of this platform. Jump through like that, or my personal favorite, if that one is away, you can just hookshot to it and just swing by. This is arguably the fastest one to do, but in case it's an unfavorable position and you do have an air jumper build like me, you can just dive cancel through it all. And now we will move on. Dive kick down here for faster movement. And here is a big one. Let me just move down here. Normally you probably use function overload here to go a little faster. This part. This entire vertical climb on this side, and then a vertical descent on the other side. For the sake of display, I will just show what that generally looks like without face planting into the spikes. Grab some health for safety. Establish function overload. Do this, and now we are on the other side. But that is quite slow, wouldn't you think? So in recent developments in the any percent routing community, we have discovered a very convenient trick. You see that shaft there that the junk comes out of? We are going to fly through that to just skip this climb entirely. So how this is going to work, we are going to use a very consistent setup. I want to first just showcase this. When you slide down a wall, as soon as you slip off, you can already do an input of it. So if you're holding something ahead of time, for example a dive kick, you will do it immediately. Notice that I basically move horizontally along the ceiling here. And that is basically the perfect buffer to slip into that shaft there. I'm going to take a hit first. Yeah, see that I moved into it? So here's what we are going to do. We are going to do this buffered dive kick and then we will gravity dash through. Then we will end up on the other side. We will collide with the conveyor belt on the other side. And before we drop into the lava, because that is a real possibility, once you bump into that conveyor belt, we are going to buffer another dive kick away from the conveyor belt, like towards the junk dropper, so we can wall jump off of it. Long-winded explanation, I will just play it here, and bam, we are on the other side. So as soon as I bumped into the conveyor belt, I held attack and down and left to move towards the edge of the junk dropper. So in full movement, this would look something like so. Make that hit. Okay, that is an issue. You might hit the junk ahead of time, so it would be recommended to maybe. Okay, that is a bad display of what that's supposed to look like. Oh yeah, you don't even need to buffer the dive kick, I'm trolling. You just need to hold left so you cling to the junk dropper and then you can move through. Then establish function overload before slipping in. And then we can move on to the next checkpoint. Now the next part is relatively standard function overload fare. And now here, usually what happens is that we cling onto these moving platforms and move through like so. But that's slow. We don't want to do that. What we instead want to do is use function overload. Cling onto this, carefully double jump over, and like so, much faster. What you need to look out for is to not move towards the spikes too quickly. You need to jump first, because if you hold left immediately, you're just going to bump into the spikes immediately, like that. So you instead want to jump vertically and then double jump over. Okay, that didn't work. And notice that I start moving horizontally only as soon as I'm out of the spikes. So again, to show the full movement, function overload, jump over this, jump over this. Bam. And we're through. Standard fare, thank you catch block. Move through this. Bam. And now we're at the next checkpoint already. See how fast that is. Now this next part. This is another situation like this. Casually you would slowly walk through this. But we don't do that around here. We are instead going to abuse function overload and double jumps to dive bomb off of those turrets that you saw. You get the gist. I'm trolling. Bam. Much faster. There's also, once again, a variance, and this is one that I can abuse because I have air jumper. I can also just bump into the spikes and die. But I can also just jump over. Jumping over, just standard fare. Well, this isn't quite right. You can also just move under. gravity dash up here, double jump, you would have function overload for this. Alternatively, you can also, in case you don't have a double jump, let me move back here, you can also dive kick cancel to gain some height. Or you can almost risk death or gravity dash. Now, I'm quite low on health. In case that happens, you can also just grab this health real quick for safety. One last damage boost, and now we would be at the boss, which we will get to shortly, and I will actually show it in the training room, not in the stage itself. But we are going, now that I've displayed the whole stage, I will now do one full run through it all, and then we will move on over to the boss itself. Here it's what a full level run would look like. Function, double jump, dive kick. Run along, double jump, dive kick, not dive kick, but you get the idea. Re-establish this. Jump on through. Tank this. Use the bat to destroy the wall. Not do that. Don't overshoot. Dive down. Heal. I will not use function overload to preserve bursts and health. Bam. Now. Nah. We'll use function overload here instead. Bam, going through. We will heal here. Bam. Bam. Okay, jump through like that. Dive kick. Not necessary here. Dive kick. Okay. Heal. Whoops. That's a new one. Irrelevant. We will go back in. Alright. That's new. Even I'm going to mess up a bit. Whoops. Just like that. I'm going to double jump to preserve my health a bit. Use the fire spitter. Use it there as well. Okay, a bit sloppy. But bam. 2 minutes 18. That's perfectly reasonable. And now we will be at the boss, and I will quit level and move on over to the simulation chamber to show it there. So in essence, Crystal Circuit is a pretty random boss, all things considered, because it has 9 phases, one itself, and then 8 phases representing the 8 normal circuits, and then the circuits themselves. So the main thing about Crystal Circuit itself, I will actually move on over to the training room to display what we are going to do. Crystal Circuit itself does not get any invincibility frames, so this limit meter that normal bosses have, where they get invincible after a few hits, the Crystal itself does not get that. So what we are going to do is we are going to melt its health bar with Current Arc. This normally does not do any... very minimal damage to regular bosses, but for Crystal Circuit specifically, that's going to hurt. But Current Arc does exactly 1 damage less than it should for a full health bar. So what we are also going to do is we are going to dive kick onto Crystal Circuit, or in my case I can double jump and just go for a normal hit, to bring us in range that all the projectiles hit, and also deal that 1 extra damage that will deal the whole health bar. Next, whenever we drain a health bar from Crystal Circuit, it's going to warp us into a circuit simulation, as it's called, a rematch against one of the circuits. And usually they start out with their Desperation attack. And that is where the beauty of Heavenly Piledriver comes in. Because normally, when the circuits do that attack, they are blinking like this because they are invincible and you cannot do anything about it. But in Crystal Circuit specifically, they don't blink when they first spawn in. You just cannot do any damage to them. However, Heavenly Piledrive can still grab them. And when you do that, then it will cancel that, basically interrupt them from doing their Desperation attack. It will completely cancel them out. This is why Heavenly Piledrive is important. It's specifically for Crystal Circuit, intended at least. I personally use it for more bosses, but it's specifically to stop these circuit simulations from doing their burst attacks. And then after that, we can effectively fight them as normal. So we will now go into this Crystal Gauntlet to display as much. I will take a quick sip first. Alright. And now we will just do as discussed. I will first do just a note. Bam. Exactly this. Okay, and now we need to do Gravity Dash to close the gap. And Hard Drive, bam! Now you won't do pattern repetition, whatever it's called. Bam. For most bosses, we need to do Gravity Dash to close the gap on them. There are 2 major exceptions. This is one of them. Here we will instead buffer a dive kick, short hop, and bam. Bam. Perfect. Alright. I also use the second loader with Repair Enhancer to heal more health. Oop. Wrong spacing. Okay, Gravity Dash again. Immediately, and Pile Drive. Bam. Alright. Standard fare. Heal. Bad spacing, you need to get real close. Gravity Dash, Pile Drive. Nah. Should have gone for Flying Strike. Heal. Bam. Now this one we need to hold left a bit, then Gravity Dash and do this. If we are too close, we will bump into him and it will delay it will cause hit lag. Then we would have to delay the input for Pile Drive a little bit. So what I do is I move left a little bit and delay the Gravity Dash. Bam. This is the second exception, no Gravity Dash. We will dive kick, jump, grab him. Nah. Okay, fine. Alright, once again. Okay, fine, a little scuffed. But now again, gravity dash, pile drive. Alright. And now bit is going to be the same affair as well. Bam, perfect. And dash, pile drive. Make him drop in there so he moves again a little faster. Bam. And with that, that's a wrap. 314, not too shabby. New record even. Not bad. Alright. Okay, a few more notes about this. You will have noticed in cycles where I drained the health bar immediately, Crystal Circuit triggered the simulation a little faster. Basically, every time the health bar drains, Crystal moves back to the center of the arena to trigger circuit simulation. However, if you drain the health bar before it even gets a chance to move, and literally not even a pixel of movement, then it will trigger the simulation immediately. And that is basically the gist of it. You have now seen how to move through Arc 2, some variations to that movement as well, general equipment recommendations, how to beat Crystal Circuit mega fast, and that should do it. If there are any further questions, do feel free to ask in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them. And that should do it. That should be everything. So, best of luck on your future runs, and don't let Arc 2's difficulty bully you into submission any longer. Peace.